Reports that this high-stakes meeting is coming as tensions are on the rise between the U.S. and Canada. With a trade war raging, tariffs are sure to top the agenda. President Trump has also suggested, remember, making Canada the 51st U.S. state.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford will join us to share his thoughts in just a moment.
Looking forward to that, John. But first, senior White House correspondent Jacqui Heinrich is live at the White House to kick things off for us. So, Jacqui, what can we expect to come from this big meeting?
Well, Sandra, for all of the barbs that the president has thrown online, he certainly extended a very gracious and warm welcome to the Canadian Prime Minister. He congratulated him on his win. He complimented him on his campaign, his underdog campaign, even noting the role that he played in it, since Mark Carney was elected in large part from his opposition to Trump. He also said that he watched the Prime Minister's debate with great interest. He called him talented and a very good person. And then he broached the elephant in the room, making Canada the 51st state.
I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it.
Carney extending some compliments of his own for the president's leadership before diplomatically making very clear that annexing Canada is not up for discussion.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace, that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together.
So both leaders touted the U.S.-Canada relationship, President Trump saying that friendship will remain regardless, which is significant given all of the rhetoric we've heard of late. But he was also asked whether this meeting would change his mind about the tariffs that he's placed on Canada, and he said no. We understand that they're going back now to talk about potential revisions or a new draft of the USMCA trade deal. The president also said that the two leaders would be discussing Russia and Ukraine, and he made a casual announcement that was a very big one, saying that the Houthis have announced that they're going to stop blowing up ships, which is a very big deal if that turns out to be true. And he teased an announcement coming before he departs for the Middle East on Monday that is as big as it gets without going into any other details. So we are awaiting more information on those points. Sandra.
As we anticipate that, thanks for kicking things off. Jacqui Heinrich live at the White House for us. Thank you, John.
All right, Sandra, for more on this, let's bring in Doug Ford. He is the Premier of the province of Ontario, which is a similar position to a governor here in the United States. They're not governor of the 51st state, at least not yet. Premier Ford, good to see you again. Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me on, John. It's always a pleasure, and it sounds like the Prime Minister and the President had a very productive meeting.
It does. It seems to be off to a pretty good start, considering what Prime Minister Carney was saying going into the election about how he was going to be tough on President Trump. But I do have to say, having grown up there, and you used to have a business in New Jersey, so you understand the American market as well. The Prime Minister really comes into this meeting with the President with a head of steam and a sense of Canadian nationalism that I have not seen since the 1972 Russia-Canada hockey series. I mean, you've got people there in your province and elsewhere who, when they go shopping, they look for goods that are stamped made in America, and they pass them by in favor of goods that are either made in Canada or somewhere else. How do you think that wave of nationalism behind the Prime Minister is going to translate to the private meetings that he has with the President?
Well, I'm so glad to see the patriotism running wild right across the country. I mentioned that to Secretary Lutnick when I spoke to him. Mm-hmm. You have approximately 350 million people going on their merry way, and you have 40 million people in Canada at a fever pitch, avoiding to go down south. When they're walking through the grocery aisle, they literally, all the big retailers have Canadian flags identifying what is Canadian and what's American and what's every other country. And isn't it a shame we've come to this point? We have the two closest friends and allies not buying groceries because it says made in America or an American flag on it. Mm-hmm. But hopefully through this meeting with the President and Prime Minister, we'll be able to rekindle our great relationship.
Well, clearly, President Trump is not happy with the trade situation between the United States and Canada. Again, you mentioned that you met with Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, when you were here back in March. Here's what he said about the trade relationship this morning. Listen here.
I think this is really complex because they have been basically feeding off of us for decades upon decades upon decades, right? They have their socialist regime, and it's basically feeding off of America. I mean, the president calls that out all the time. Why do we make cars in Canada? Why do we do our films in Canada? Come on.
So, again, you got a chance to speak with Howard Lutnick a couple of months ago. Is he right about that?
No, he's totally wrong. I've mentioned this to Secretary Lutnick. I guess you don't want our potash that keeps your farming communities going. You don't need our uranium for your nuclear power. You don't need our energy, be it oil that we ship $1.2 billion a year down, or you don't need Ontario's high-grade nickel that supports you on your military, your aerospace, and your manufacturing. Not to mention, we have more critical minerals than any place in the entire world, right here in Ontario. Mm-hmm. He forgot to mention that there's 9 million Americans that wake up every morning to produce a product or a widget for Ontario alone. He didn't mention we're the #1 customer to the U.S. In the entire world. So I could go on for the next hour and all the reasons why I've always said, let's build an AmCan fortress. Let's work together. Let's have the two strongest, wealthiest, most prosperous two countries in the world. It's not Canada is the problem. I've said for years, it's China is the problem. And we need to work together and create a strong alliance when it comes to our economy and NATO.
You know, you mentioned oil, and the United States does buy an awful lot of oil from Canada, from the province of Alberta. I've been up at the tar sands there. It's quite an extraordinary operation they've got going. See, here's the total trade between the two countries is $762.1 billion. The United States has got a $63.3 billion deficit in that trade relationship. But the deficit really is built on oil, because if you take away oil, the United States has a $50.9 billion surplus when it comes to Canada. But here's the thing. Correct. Here's the thing that the president is really upset about, and that is it's mostly in the agriculture sector. Canada's got, when it comes to some dairy products, 250% tariffs once a quota is met. The problem is the United States never gets to that quota because of the protectionist policies of Canada. Doesn't allow that much dairy product to come in to ever trigger the quota.
Well, you're 100% right. They haven't met their quota. We're all about making sure there's fair and free trade, and I understand he wants to protect his agriculture sector, and his #1 customer is Canada. Ontario alone brings in over $30 billion of agricultural products into the province, not to mention the rest of the country. So we ship out $26 billion. We bring in over $30 billion. There's a surplus there. In the auto sector, it's very similar. You know, we buy more cars off the U.S. than we ship down to the U.S., and the ones we ship down have 50% American-made parts in it. You know, we have a great relationship. I always say I love Americans. I spent 20 years of my life in our business in Chicago and New Jersey, and Americans love Canadians. But it's a shame when we drive to the border and there used to be lineups going south. Now there's no lineups at all. The customs border security is empty, so you can go down there. And same with Florida. We have 3.2 million visitors to visit Florida. We have $30 billion of real estate, $1 billion worth of taxes, $11 billion we spend. So let's get back to the table. Let's get both economies growing. That's what we believe in. We're again, don't forget that we're the closest allies and friends in the entire world. And when all heck breaks loose, who stands beside you? Canada stands beside you and always will be there as your closest ally.
All right. Well, hopefully this won't be going on this winter, but if it does, we'll see what happens with Canadian tourism down to Florida, because growing up there, I used to like to say that Canada's weather is 9 months of winter and 3 months of bad skating. So good reason to come south. Premier Ford, thanks for joining us again.
John, I want to thank you for having me on. I really, really like you, John, because, you're a Canadian, but I like Kira a little better than you. But I'll leave you with that. You take care and have a great day.
Kira's my wife, by the way. Ditto to you, Premier. Thank you so much again. All right.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.